I'm Carol Ann Ford. I played Susan in Doctor Who. And I've been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast, and it's absolutely amazing. So, goodbye everybody, and it's been fun talking to you.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 97 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. It's time to break out those patterns, your needle and your thread. We're going to talk cosplay. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by going to the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
And we lost Holly already. We had Holly from Wisconsin.
You know, Wisconsin's a very exciting place. Why don't you just get distracted by something shiny?
Maybe. So, Holly is here anyway. Keep going.
Hi, I'm Alena Venara-Donk from And Sewing is Half the Battle.
And I'm Laura Venara-Donk-Baugh, also from And Sewing is Half the Battle.
And Mitch. Unless we lost Mitch too.
Okay. Mitch in Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. See, I told you guys, it just... This is why we're not in PR in more than earnest, because we just kind of... We just roll with it, so...
We'll get it rolling.
Yeah, so we're
We can totally compete with NPR. Instead of car talk, we'll have cosplay talk.
Exactly.
Cos talk.
Don't sound like my brother.
Sister.
Yeah.
Don't dress like my sister. Don't dress like my sister.
Exactly. So we are not that this is going to go up this weekend, so we stick with our regular schedule. But at the moment, we're recording on a Tuesday night, hence the lack of Chrissy, because it's still working time for her and it's D&D night. So Chrissy may or may not make an appearance, but we needed to record this and wanted to record this, and schedules made it work so that this was the best. So we have Alena and Laura from andsewingishalfthebattle.com. They are a couple of crazy cosplayers.
I think we can emphasize that crazy.
So we've been meaning to talk cosplay on the podcast for a while, but it's just not something we've gotten around to for a myriad of reasons, but we thought it would be fun to have a couple of people who know better what they're talking about than I do, because of
Fake better.
Yeah.
Fake better.
Yeah. Of the five of us, I cosplay on a semi-regular basis, but I've only been doing it for about a year. Chrissy has a couple under her belt, and then Mitch has kind of done like a not full-on cosplay, more inspired looks at some of the conventions that she's gone to, and I don't think Brittany or Holly has ever really truly cosplayed unless you've been hiding it from us.
Been to con.
Okay.
Like, unless Halloween counts,
Hey,
I've never.
I think that's everyone's foray into cosplay is Halloween. I think for
Halloween
the most
is the
part.
gateway drug.
Yes, it is. It is.
And everyone has to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Well, I have, if that counts, like, because how I get my costumes for Halloween is the same that I hear from cosplays. Like I get a lot of them from like thrift stores and all that.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we'll get into the ins and outs of cosplay, and all that. I don't know if I don't think I've ever. Well, I've never met Laura to her face. I met Laura while she was inside Cupcake at PopCon.
We should probably explain Cupcake in case anyone missed the previous episode.
I did post a video.
Pastries.
Yeah.
I am. I'm one of the cake girls, you know, that like in the old movies, you have a large cake that just explode out of it and it sing. Yes.
Yeah. No, I posted a video that I'd taken. I'd talked to the nice gentleman who was helping man your guys' booth at PopCon, while Laura was working Cupcake. So, Cupcake is well. I can let you guys explain, just in case anyone hasn't seen our video or any of the pictures yet.
Cupcake is a 14-foot long realistic dinosaur after the cinematic style Velociraptor, Deinonychus kind of look. So I have to get specific. I'm a little bit of a paleozoologist nerd, so I have to be like, well, she's kind of a Velociraptor, but not really, because Velociraptors were actually pretty small. But she's 14 feet long, and she's basically an enormous puppet who is incredibly fun to frighten children with. I mean, incredibly fun to wear around the con. So, yes.
Yes.
Cupcake likes to go on charity outings and raise money for nonprofits. Our last outing was for the Humane Society of Indianapolis, and then she's actually been featured on national television as well. And she's on YouTube videos, and she likes running around scaring people. So,
yes,
she's a good member of the team.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time when the dino chase, for the Jurassic World dino chase was going on the con floor. the wonderful cosplayer.
Claire.
Yeah, Claire from Jurassic World.
Yes.
Was running with her flare, and here comes Cupcake, and here comes the guy in the inflatable T-Rex.
I have to say, I was laughing really hard when I saw your video, because of course I was in the dinosaur. I have no idea what we look like, and I was laughing I was laughing mostly at myself and how incredibly slow I was running. But that was the end of the chase, and Cupcake actually weighs 60 pounds, and I was laughing really hard because I'm like, I need to work out a lot more if I'm going to chase Claire all around Defender Hall. Yeah. So
probably a good idea. Cupcake is amazing though for what she is. I mean, the size and the attention to detail, the articulation that it has, the head moves, the mouth opens, the eyes blink, there's noises that she can roar. So
yeah,
that's pretty
she's
cool.
A lot of fun as a puppet. I have to be honest, I don't get any credit at all for her. I researched actually for a while. I've wanted to do a realistic dinosaur costume for years, and everything I was finding, like I looked up, from the original Jurassic Park, I think it was 93, the special effects team that did those puppets and things, and I looked up a lot of that material, and they're amazing, but they're not designed for long-term wear. The guy who was the lead on that team worked with a special personal trainer for 6 months to get in shape so he could wear the suit for 20 minutes at a time. And then I'm like, okay, that's not going to be a good convention option. Yeah. you can't do a booth or something for 20 minutes and then call it a day. So in the end, to cut the story short, Cupcake actually came from a special effects company in China. They make a lot of materials for theme parks and like maybe rides and roller coasters and things. And what I actually realized when I started putting things together is I could buy her as kind of a little bit of they had her just sitting in the warehouse needing a home, and I could buy her for about the cost of buying in materials in the U.S. And I was like, oh well, rather than take this particular learning curve myself, we do a lot more with fabric and things, and we've definitely done work with silicone and foam and the materials that she's made of. But there was still going to be a very steep learning curve to get that level of puppetry. So I get no credit for making Cupcake. I did not make Cupcake. I purchased Cupcake, but I love her anyway. So.
She's adorable.
You adopted Cupcake. You gave Cupcake a home.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, and then Alena I've actually met several times. I've attended a couple of your panels that I think you hosted at Indie Comic-Con last year.
Yes, I did. I did some panels there.
Yeah, and then actually we've met at a couple of conventions and at Who North America. Actually, we went and all had lunch with Janie.
Because nerds travel in packs.
Yes, we do.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah.
It's fun to share our enthusiasm about certain topics, like
yes.
Dr.
Exactly. So that's So that's where my knowledge of you guys is coming from is through that. But I know we've talked about Cupcake, but let's back up a little here and maybe give a little background to for both of you guys and where you started in making costumes and all that, and how and Sewing in Half the Battle ended up forming.
Well, once upon a time, I had a roll of duct tape and some safety pins, and I wanted to go to a convention, and I wanted to wear a costume, but I had no sewing experience, and the only sewing supplies I owned was literally a Days Inn motel button repair kit. So using my Days Inn button repair kit and the duct tape and the safety pins, I cobbled together a bunch of random pieces of fabric and thrift store clothes and went to a con in costume, and that is how I started cosplaying. And I always start with that because I have people come up to me all the time and say, oh, I wish I could cosplay, but I can't sew as well as you. And I'm like, oh no, honey, if you can use a sewing machine or thread a needle, you are already ahead of where I started. So both Laura and I did not know how to sew when we started cosplaying. Both of us very nearly failed our home ec class, our one semester home ec class that we had in middle school. And neither of us had any interest in sewing until we started doing costuming and thought, well, gosh, it'd be fun to make more elaborate costumes. But I guess that means we have to stop using the duct tape. And so we are entirely self-taught. We've never had sewing classes or anything, which on the one hand can be a detriment because it means I still have no idea how to read a pattern. Commercial patterns confuse me, and I just sort of put them together, ignoring the directions. But on the other hand, it means that we don't know what can't be done, and we defy physics a lot and make things happen that aren't actually supposed to be possible. So there's a little bit of thinking outside the box that happens by default because we don't know where the box is.
We're not trained enough to follow directions, so yeah.
That's the short version is we don't know the term. Well, we're getting better. I will say we've been doing this long enough. We've been cosplaying as a group for about 14 years. Is that? Yeah, 14 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's a terrifying number, actually.
It is. We've been cosplaying since before some cosplayers were born. Now get off my lawn. But we've been doing it long enough now that we have self-educated. I have a shelf of costuming books that periodically I look up words in and cry because it's terminology I never learned. And we've gotten better at what we do. But we started very much from scratch, and I think that's an important thing to understand is that you don't have to already have your sewing skills and your crafting skills to start cosplaying. You can start at whatever level you exist at now. Mm-hmm. One thing I really like doing, we compete in the Masters and Professional division, so we make everything from scratch for our competition costumes. But if I'm putting together a costume just to wear for fun or to hang out at the con in, or if it's something that's based on street clothes, I still do a ton of thrift store costumes. I like to do a lot of costumes from things like Doctor Who that are based on real clothes, and it's very easy to find and modify pieces for those rather than having to make everything from scratch. Mm-hmm. So for people who want to break into costuming or who haven't done it a lot before, going to a thrift store or a garage sale or raiding your closet and finding pieces to put together is a really good way to start.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was one of your panels that I saw was the found object costuming. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, we have a workshop on that, and we talk about the different ways to put things together and the process of approaching a costume and breaking it down into its component parts. And then in the workshop, we actually give everybody T-shirts and a bunch of different scrap materials, and they get to make costumes out of T-shirts. So that's a fun little project you can do at home. It doesn't require a lot of material.
Yeah. I took a lot away from that particular panel actually. So and learning or realizing that I can look at a costume and go, oh, that's really complicated, but then if I look at it again and go, oh, well, that's like a long sleeve shirt and that's a pair of like harem pants essentially, and that's just a tunic or that sort of thing, and you start breaking it down and you realize, oh, it's not that complicated.
Absolutely. So. One of my costumes that I made very quickly once, we were doing a museum appearance and I needed a kid-friendly costume, and I made Princess Leia's outfit from the Ewok village, the tan leather dress. And when I started looking at it, I realized it's a long-sleeve T-shirt with some rawhide strands tied in the cuffs, and it's basically the top of the dress design is more or less a fitted T-shirt shape, and then it's got some fabric pieces tied around the waist, and it's a really simple design. But when you put it all together, it looks like Princess Leia.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that. Once you start breaking,
it's a simple design, artfully arranged.
Right.
Yes.
So you can sometimes make costumes that look really good and feel really good to wear, but they really don't require a lot of complicated techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And those are really great starter projects for, hey, I want to make a costume and I need to start with something that's within my skill level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you go on your your guys' website, you've got a nice gallery of a lot of your work, and some of it is looks like something that, you probably put a lot of work into it. But then there are some fairly simple looks, from like Assassin's Creed or something like that. It's, some of them are...
We should probably specify that is one of the modern day Assassin's Creed costumes, not one of the actual...
Yeah. That would be Lucy from Assassin's Creed 2.
Yes. Assassin's Creed covers a wide range of costumes.
Yeah.
That particular Assassin's Creed costume was a pair of jeans I already owned and a shirt from Goodwill that I cut apart and put back together. So, yeah, you really can't get much more simple than that particular costume. But I got a lot of comments on it because not many people do that costume from that particular game. So it's fun.
Yeah. So we mentioned, that I attended a couple of your panels, but one of the things I know that you guys do way more often, and I know you did at PopCon and you'll be doing at Gen Con, is the more hands-on workshops. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you started doing those and, the different types of workshops that you guys now offer?
We offer a very wide range. We actually rotate them from year to year because we have so many of them that we try to keep something fresh on the schedule all the time. We always do workshops at Gen Con, so anyone who's interested in workshops, that's a guaranteed place to find us. We do them at PopCon as well, Indie PopCon, and we're doing them at sporadic other conventions throughout the year. We also do them occasionally at public libraries or other events if they ask us to come in. Last year we worked with 5 different library systems, I think, in Indiana. And I've also been interested in Ohio and a couple other areas. We're doing something in Alabama next year. So we travel quite a bit. You can always keep up with us on our website. As far as what we actually do, we offer beginner entry-level workshops like the Found Object one where we make costumes out of T-shirts. We also do things that are very advanced materials. We have a silicone and resin casting workshop where people get to learn how to do mold making and copy pieces and sculpt things.
That one's really fun because we go through the whole process in the workshop. So you leave with a piece and a mold that you can reuse. So it's a pretty quick, process. You're not going to make the most detailed piece ever, but you have gone through the entire process hands-on by the end of the workshop. So,
and it's a really great way to introduce those concepts if you don't want to go out and spend several $100s in materials and just hope it all works out. We do a makeup workshop where you can learn about cosplay makeup and special effects makeup. What else do we do, Laura? I'm drawing a blank.
We're doing featherweight armor this year at Gen Con.
Oh, right. So if you want to learn how to use materials like foam and thermoplastics and other vinyl, simple materials to make things like bracers or gauntlets or shoulder pieces or any part of armor, everything we do in that workshop is lightweight and non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about fiberglassing or working with metal or expensive chemicals.
Or accidentally killing your pets at home or, whatever.
Right. We also do an Intro to Thermoplastics workshop where we work with various types of Warbler, Wonderflex. We have props made out of Sintra, things like that you get to learn about different types of plastic and also make stuff out of them. We
have a couple of less costumey, more fun workshops at Gen Con this year. The Gamer Jewelry and the Wings to Wear. We're doing both of those at Gen Con. So Gamer Jewelry is making dice related jewelry. So that was pretty fun. We have a lot of families come to that just because it's very entry level friendly. And then Wings to Wear is another one that's less about grandiose costuming and more about having something fun to wear at the con. And so that is you'll make a pair of they might be bird wings, bat wings, fairy wings. We can customize them and then you'll get to wear them out at the end of the workshop. So.
So lots of different things. And again, we rotate those from year to year. So every year our lineup changes slightly as far as what we're doing, what we offer.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I've seen your guys' looking at the Gen Con schedule, and they seem to be quite popular. Which I imagine, especially the ones where you start getting into doing like armor, because I see a lot on on Facebook and other social medias, the people newer into to cosplay, and they decide they want to do something that involves like gauntlets or armor, and they're like, oh my god.
There's a lot of different materials out there you can use, and some of them are really easy to work with. I mean, things like craft foam are very simple because you're just cutting and pasting, skills we learned in kindergarten. And then you get into the higher end materials and sculpting and crafting and fiberglassing and all these things, and they can be very expensive and very difficult and very complicated, and in some cases very dangerous. So we have a wide variety of workshops sort of to introduce people of all skill levels to whatever the next skill level is.
Yeah. Which is fantastic, because I know when I started getting into cosplay, I was doing a lot of found object and thrift store modification cosplay, and most of my cosplays are actually that. They're thrift store finds and slight adjustments to some of that stuff. I only have one costume right now where I started with a pattern and drew out a design, and it took a lot of time and a lot of hand-holding on my mother-in-law's behalf, because she knows how to use a sewing machine and I don't. I can sew a straight line, and that's about it. But between the two of us, we managed to put together, my first, from scratch cosplay. And really after that, I'm like, ooh, I want to do more. And of course, now I've got, a laundry list of characters and costumes and variations of costumes. Someone needs to warn you when you get into when you start doing that gate. It's like doing drugs, that gateway drug.
It is totally a gateway
when
drug,
you start cosplaying, and after the first one or two, you cannot watch movies or television shows or play a video game without going, how hard would it be for me to put that together?
There is a lot of truth in that. There is a lot of truth in that, and I have to control my costuming urges occasionally, because I keep putting things on my list and not getting to them. So I have to limit myself to a certain number of costumes a year. But that's another reason why it's really fun to do, to continue doing things like the found item costumes. I may put, 300 hours into sewing a ridiculous, huge competition costume, but then it's very rewarding to just go out on a Saturday, pick up a couple of things at the thrift store and say, look, I made a costume. It's really fun to be able to do that and not have to invest most of your life for that month into a project.
You get to do more costumes overall, because if all of them are huge projects, you get one, maybe two a year. And if you've got, this will be a fast one, and it'll be really fun, and I'll wear it, and I'll run around, and I won't care if I fall down and scuff it because I didn't put 1,000 hours into it. So,
And sometimes those are the more fun characters, characters where you have the freedom to move around and do fun things in your costume and pose hanging off a tree or in the dirt or in the snow. Those costumes can be really fun to wear. Some of my favorite costumes to wear, just to do fun events in, are Doctor Who costumes like River Song or Jack Harkness. And I've worn those in the forest, and I've worn those in snowdrifts, and I've worn those in all sorts of situations that I would not dare take my big competition costumes into, because they'd get damaged and I would cry a lot. But if it's a street clothes costume that you can throw in the washing machine afterward, hey, you can have as much fun as you want, do all the photo shoots you want.
Yes, very much so. And I love doing photo shoots. I've started doing some photo shoots at PopCon, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun. To being in character at a convention, something like Cupcake, it's a dinosaur, people know what you are, and they're like, oh, it's a scary dinosaur, and you get to chase children and that sort of thing. But for other characters, I know speaking for myself, being able to go around and embody that character. Some are more fun than others. Sometimes it helps, if it's a character I think that people recognize easier, makes it a little easier. But like one of my favorite cosplays to wear is it's a found thrifted closet cosplay, but it's a Applejack from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and I've worn her to several cons, and I've had in more than one occasion some little girl come up to me and be like, "Hi, Applejack," and of course, I go straight into the voice, "Hi, how you doing, sweetie?" That sort of thing, and we stand there and chat in character, and I walk away, and the kids had, it's like Disney World. It's like, now I know how the princesses feel who work at the Disney parks.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's always rewarding when you have someone who really invests themselves in your portrayal of the character. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I learned doing Princess Leia. Is I was working in a museum during a costume exhibit, and they had us come in to do special events with the kids. And so I'd have these 4 and 5-year-old girls who'd sort of walk up and stare at me, and it looks like Princess Leia. And I have very long brown hair, so I use my own hair to cosplay Leia. And so the girls would come up and they'd kind of tentatively reach up and tug on my hair, and they were so excited that I was a real princess and I wasn't wearing a wig. So you could just see them kind of test and go, "Oh, wow, it's really her." Of course, it's not really me. I don't look anything like Carrie Fisher. But hey, the girls were excited.
Yeah, wigs. Yeah, don't get me started on wearing wigs.
I wear wigs for probably 95% of my costumes.
Yeah.
I only have maybe 2 or 3 costumes out of my.
They're
or whatever that I can use my real hair for.
Yeah, they're a fantastic thing that there are so many companies out there that make different styles and all the colors, because you start getting into like anime and these really wacky colors that don't exist in real life and weird shapes and that sort of thing. But after the first couple hours, your head starts to get real hot.
So I'm going to jump in here and say, I hear a lot of complaints about wigs, and it's true. I mean, I have a ridiculous amount of hair, so getting up under a wig is a project.
You can't see me, but I'm raising my hand.
But I will say the quality and the fit and the putting on of the wig are your key things. Yeah. And if you have a nasty quality wig, it will never, ever be comfortable. Yes. And if you have a decent wig that gets put on properly, you can make it through the day without crying and being in pain. So, definitely there is a technique to wigs, both to buying and to wearing. So positively do the research and save yourself a lot of tears.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so.
I routinely have to wear wigs for 12 or 14 hours straight, and my hair is 3 feet long. So if I'm going to be wearing the wig for a long time, I take extra care to make sure that my hair is up properly and the wig is secured properly, and then it's comfortable. But yeah, definitely, especially if you're buying party supply store wigs, which are not made for long-term wear. They're meant to be worn for Halloween.
Yeah.
But something like that,
Sorry, that was an opinion there.
I have a lot of people tell me, "Oh, I can't wear wigs. I tried, and they just don't work on my head." Well, probably that's the wig. That's not your head. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of really good resources out there for how to find a good quality wig. I've got a tutorial on our website for how to put long hair up under a wig, because I have to do that every time I wear a wig. And I have a couple of wigs that are super short. They're actually men's hair replacement wigs, and one of them, the one I wear for Clint Barton, is only about half an inch long. It's a super short, slightly longer than buzz cut wig, and I put 3 feet of hair up under it, and everybody thinks it's my real hair. So it is totally possible to wear a wig convincingly if you put your hair up well and get a good quality wig. Mm-hmm. But you have to practice it. It is a skill. It is not something you just wake up one morning and say, "I'm going to wear a wig," and shove your hair up under it and go without having problems with that.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. And I think that's one of the things I'm still working on, is finding because my hair is not super long, but it's very, very thick. So practicing and finding the technique that works best for you, that's the most comfortable, along with wearing a proper quality wig. And
there are things you can do to make your wigs better. If they don't fit properly, it's possible to resize them, just like you would tailor clothing. I've had to expand wigs, and I've had to take wigs in. And there are lots of ways to do that. So if your wig doesn't fit just right, you can help that and make it a little better. Also, the way you secure the wig, distributing the weight all over your head is much better than having one clip in the front that's ripping your scalp apart. Things like that. So you can do a lot of modification to make it more comfortable.
Yeah. And the internet is your friend for finding out how to do that. So.
Yes. Although, as with all things on the internet, research carefully because there are many people out there who don't know what they're talking about and many people out there who do.
Yeah.
So please use common sense.
Yes. Very much so. So, now do you guys, I know the conventions that I've been to, only one of them I've actually seen Alena enter the cosplay contest. Do you guys still compete, or is that something that you kind of you focus more on the workshops?
We do compete, but we only compete at a few events a year, mostly because we end up helping out with the masquerades at a lot of other ones. So we're often judging them or running things because we have so many years of experience doing that, and we enjoy doing that. I love judging because I love seeing everyone's work up close. I'm a costume nerd. Put me in a room where I get to look at costumes all day. That's great. So we usually compete at Gen Con. We usually compete at a couple other events throughout the year, but we don't do it every single convention. I would say the most we ever compete is maybe 3 events a year. And we do a lot more cons than that because we come in and do panels, or we work at them, or we staff. So we might do 10 or 12 events in a year, but we're only competing at 2 to 3. So most of the time people are seeing us, we're not doing competition, but we do still compete. And we plan a lot of costumes well in advance if we're going to do a group. We're planning with a group of people for Gen Con this year. So we actually are coordinating with we have 6 people, I think, that we're trying to coordinate with, which is always a challenge. And we have to plan those costumes out well in advance so we know everybody's on schedule and we can get the things to people they need, and we can all make sure we look alike or whatever we're doing. So there's often, if we're doing a competition, we're going to be planning that well in advance rather than just deciding, oh, hey, let's go to this con and enter.
Yeah, because I know on your guys' website and your tutorials, you have a tutorial on how to enter and survive a costume masquerade.
Yes, that is useful information for everyone who wants to be in a masquerade. And the reason that is there is I work at a lot of very small events that maybe 50 to 75% of their entries, it's their first time doing a masquerade, and they have no idea how they work because every con does them differently. So the reason we put that tutorial up is just to answer some of the general questions and help give people an idea of how the contests tend to work, what's expected of you, what you should prepare, what you should bring, how long you can expect to be in the rooms, things like that. That just good information that maybe a smaller event wouldn't necessarily have that information because they don't have a lot of experienced competitors.
That's nice. So, you guys, I think as cosplayers, because you tend to do a lot of panels and workshops at conventions. I imagine you're probably stuck in the rooms for your workshops and all that, and probably don't get the freedom to wander around as much at the conventions. I know it seems like every time I walk by the one panel room, Alena, you were in there teaching away.
I didn't get a lunch break. I was in there all day.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if we're doing workshops, we tend to prefer to do our workshops all in a streak of one after another.
Yeah.
Simply because we have to lug in, 100 pounds of equipment or something for that, and it's much easier to do them all in a row than it is to carry the stuff out and bring it back an hour later. So generally, if we're doing something like Gen Con where we do a full day of workshops, we'll do all the workshops in one day, and we won't see anything else of the con for that entire day. We actually, for some of our cons, we make arrangements with a friend. It's like, okay, we can trade off talking and eating during this panel, so bring us something to snack on during this panel so we can eat during the day. But if we're doing just if we're not doing workshops and we're just doing one panel or two panels, we scatter them throughout the con, and then we get to see the rest of the con and go do fun things. But it really depends on what the event is, and we go into it knowing that there's a risk we might just be trapped in one room all day. But we do enjoy what we do. I mean, we're not there against our will by any stretch of the imagination.
That's good. You wouldn't do it if you didn't love it,
Right.
I imagine.
No one is actually twisting our arm and forcing us to teach costume.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the reason I brought it up is, it's, I don't know if it's something that you guys have had a lot of experience with. And it's not really I've had any experience with, but I know, because cosplay is becoming more and more mainstream, especially in the last couple of years, with, things like that reality TV competition show that was on for a short while, and someone like Yaya Han, who's got her own line of cosplay fabrics now at Joann's. Cosplay is becoming more and more out there, where if anyone that goes in Joann's, if they're going to walk by the fabrics, they're going to see that and go, what the heck is cosplay? So do you find when you're at these conventions, and either people in your panels, probably people that are coming to your panels, or someone who's interested in cosplay to begin with, but outside of that, when you're at conventions, do you find that because cosplay has grown so much, that it's becoming a good thing, or is it? I would think it's a good thing, because I know, like, when I talk to, like, my mom, she doesn't look at me like I have three heads now when I'm talking about how I want to build something with armor. So,
well, it's a very multifaceted question, because on the one hand, you have a community that's been around for the last 100 years doing this. I mean, cosplay is not new. The oldest photo I've found of somebody in a sci-fi costume from a contest was 1907.
Wow.
So it's not like people haven't been making costumes for the last century.
Yeah.
So you have a really strong history here. But you also have, because it's becoming more mainstream, people are seeing it on TV and in magazines and on the internet, you have a lot of people coming into this hobby for the first time with no idea what to expect, no idea what is expected of them. And so, as with any industry or hobby or community that gets a sudden influx of new people, there's always a little bit of the growing pains, and people who don't really know whether how to behave, or people who are nervous that they won't be accepted. And I think for cosplayers,
people who need to be superior because they were there first,
right.
You're always going to have that element in any time you bring a new group together.
Right. And I think cosplayers who've been in the industry, or not industry, the community for a long time, I think it's on us to be as welcoming as possible and not be judgmental and say, oh gosh, well, I've been cosplaying for more years than you have, so I'm obviously better at it. I love it when cosplayers help each other out, and I like teaching the workshops and helping people get started. But on the other hand, there is an element of, you've got a lot of people coming in trying to jump on the bandwagon, and you get some bad behavior out of that. We've all had that experience with the one creeper at the con who wouldn't leave us alone, or the person who wanted to take pictures because, haha, look at the people in funny costumes. There's going to be some difficulties with the changes coming in. Overall, I think it's good that we have the resources now. You have things like specialty fabrics in fabric stores. You have employees in fabric stores who know what you're talking about when you say you want to make a costume. I literally used to have to carry around a 3-ring binder with photos of costumes in it so I could explain what I was trying to make when I was talking to people in fabric stores.
Wow.
Because all the employees would just give me this weird side eye. Now, half the employees in my fabric store are cosplayers, and they go to cons. So it's nice to be able to have more resources and a bigger community. But I think we have to understand, with that growth comes other elements that we're going to have to adapt to, and not just do things the way they've always been done.
Yeah. I've been fortunate that I haven't experienced any of the creepers. I hate to say the word yet, just because, anytime you go to a convention of any size, usually when you get, so many people together, and anyone can pay entry, so there's no screening process for who goes to these things. You're going to get the person that goes and just wants to look at the people wearing the funny colored wigs, and doesn't appreciate it for what it is. I know one of the other big things and a concern in the general cosplay community is, harassment, not necessarily from creepers who, well, I guess it is, somewhat, there's the people that probably like, oh, look at the people wearing the funny costumes, haha, but then you have like the actual creepers.
Harassment exists in many forms.
Yes, unfortunately, and I'm fortunate that I haven't experienced any of that, and hopefully never do. But it is, I know it's one of those things that, if you are going to be going to a con, even if you're not cosplaying, just as a general con goer, that, that some people like to take advantage of these situations. So you need to be vigilant of your surroundings and those around you and that sort of thing.
Right. And that sort of behavior happens all throughout life. I mean, you can be walking down the sidewalk and have somebody following you or yelling insults at you. The same thing can happen. What happens at cons is you get a massive conglomeration of people in one space, and you get more of that simply because of the huge concentration of people, and I don't want to necessarily say that conventions attract that sort of person, but I think you notice it because you're in close quarters with so many people. Your odds of it happening are higher.
It's the same cross-section of society. We're just concentrating it so you're statistically more likely to see it because you're statistically with more people.
Right.
But anywhere you go, any large group, you're going to get, that cross-section of really cool people and really not cool people. Yeah. And yeah, it's good training for life in general.
And it does happen. I could tell you stories that would curl your hair, but it is something that anyone who's going into the community as a whole, whether you're cosplaying or not, use common sense, be aware, have plans in place, help your friends out, help strangers out. If you see something happening, report it or get help. And just try to make the community a better, safer place. And that goes whether you're talking about a gaming convention or a group of people getting together for something completely unrelated. You still want to do the best you can to make your community safer, no matter what that community is.
Yeah. Very much so. Well, after bringing everything down a couple notches, let's bring everything back to something more pleasant. For anyone that I know we've touched on a few tips and things here, but as we wrap things up here, but for anyone who may be listening that either hasn't started cosplaying or is just dipping their toe in the water and kind of getting the itch, do it. But free. Yeah, but what would be like, let's say your like top 3 tips for a newbie, that's, like these are the things you need to know, other than once you pop, you can't stop like a can of Pringles.
That is definitely one, you are going to get sucked in. I would say don't be intimidated, whether that is by other people or by the costume design itself. A lot of people look at costumes and they feel like, oh, maybe I can't do it, or maybe I can't do it very well, or maybe people won't think my costume's good enough. You know what? It's your costume. You wear it. You have fun in it. And if you want to wear that costume, you go wear that costume, even if it's outside your skill level. The way you learn, the way you get better is attempting things that are just beyond your comfort zone, so you acquire the skills necessary for them. So maybe your first costume is just stuff you pulled out of your closet and put together. Great, you have a costume. You're wearing it and having fun. The next one, you're going to try to reach a little farther. And so always go with a costume that you want to do, not because you think it's necessarily what you should be doing, what other people expect you to do. Go with a costume that you want to wear and have fun in.
That's actually, I guess I have a corollary to that, because it's very similar to what I was thinking, which is do the costume you want to do. And I've had a number of people approach me and say, okay, I want to do my first costume, and this I think is really cool. It's one of my favorite characters. It'd be really fun, but this one looks easier, and my friend says I look like this character. Well, you just told me what you want to do. Okay, do it. It's nice that your friend thinks you have the same hair color, but seriously, that's not what makes a costume. We do this for fun. We do this because we want to be this character. Go be that character. And if it's not perfect, congratulations, you're normal. We'll get you a membership card, and you can always come back and upgrade it if you want to. So,
I have some costumes I've made 3 times because after I get new skills, I think, oh, I can go back and do that costume better. And I do, and I improve. And so if you don't get it perfect the first time, guess what? You get to do it again later, and you'll be happier with it. Also, you don't have to be in costume with the exact right details to be cosplaying. I know there's a lot of debate in the community, and this goes back to the old school community versus the new people coming in, and a lot of misunderstanding and misconception about what cosplay is. But you have people who say, "Oh, you're not really you're not really cosplaying if you buy your costume. You have to make it yourself." Or, "Oh, people who spend money on cosplay are not really part of the." You know what? If you're in a costume, you're cosplaying. It doesn't matter where the costume comes from. If your grandmother makes it for you, or if you buy it, or if you hand sew it yourself, or if you duct tape and safety pin it together like I did with my first one, you're cosplaying. Don't feel like you're not good enough or you're not part of the community.
Yes.
I feel very soapboxy right now.
No, that's okay. We have our own soapboxes, and we keep a couple, set aside for other folks as well. So.
Excellent.
And a more practical tip, when you're looking, this is my 3rd tip there. When you're looking at a costume, don't look at the big picture, look at the pieces. So look at what kind of hair does this character have, or what kind of jacket does this character wear, what kind of shoes do I need, rather than looking at the entire outfit at once and trying to just go out and attack it wholeheartedly as one big piece. Mm-hmm. Find small parts you can break it down into, just like with the Princess Leia costume where it was a t-shirt and a t-shirt shape and a skirt. You can make it much easier on yourself if you go out looking for individual pieces.
And match colors is a really important one. If you're trying, you're not going to have the absolute perfect screen replica, version of whatever it is that you're doing. Colors are much easier to recognize than this seam is curved in the right place. Okay, if we're just trying to get an impression of a character across. So break things down by color and by shape, and worry later about the smaller details. That's your next step. That's your next challenge. So you can break it down and get closer to it a little bit at a time.
Awesome. Alrighty. So, well, thank you guys for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us for this. I didn't know, we sent the email and like, well, this might work, and like, well, we're going to be out of the country here in a few weeks, so.
We don't hold still very long. That is one hazard.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Especially in the height of convention season. Where can our listeners find you guys?
We're on all the social media.
If you have access to the interwebs, our website is andsewingishalfthebattle.com. We are also on Facebook. Just search for And Sewing is Half the Battle, or facebook.com/andsewingishalfthebattle, all one word. Twitter, we are at ASIHTB, and Tumblr, we are andsewingishalfthebattle.tumblr.com. Mm-hmm.
And Cupcake has her own Facebook page, too.
Cupcake the Dino does have a Facebook page.
Excuse me. And as far as conventions, what do you guys have coming up?
Definitely Gen Con.
I was going to say, is Gen Con our next one? I think Gen Con is our next one.
Gen Con is
my next one.
I think we have some smaller events that are just like one-day appearances. But as far as conventions with things we're actually doing, Gen Con is our next one, yes.
Okay. All right. And do you know off the top of your head, are there still seats available for your guys' workshops?
So here's our rule. Gen Con has limited numbers of tickets for each workshop. I think it's 30. Yeah. And they sell out very quickly. However, if you show up at the door with a handful of generics and we have a chair available in the room, we will put you in the chair.
Okay.
We will fill the room up to fire code capacity. So even if you don't have a ticket, there's always a chance somebody else won't show up, and there's always a chance there's an extra chair in the room. So come anyway, and we will take generics at the door up to capacity.
Mm-hmm.
We do try to bring extra materials because we know, like a lot of the workshops sell out in a couple of hours on the first day, and that's just it's hard to say, oh, too bad you missed it. So we try to bring extra materials. always just show up a few minutes early, and if we can possibly get you in legally, we will do it. So.
Until the fire marshal says no.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Are you guys just going to be based in whatever room you guys aren't going to have a table or anything at Gen Con?
We actually are splitting. Our workshops are split in 2 different rooms this year, I think, which is a little different. Yeah, but
we will have all of our materials with us in the workshop rooms, as far as our cards and banners and everything that you would normally pick up at a table.
Okay.
We do not have a dealer room table. We are too busy running things to have anybody man a table.
Fair enough.
We don't really sell stuff anyway. We mostly just do like hands-on craft things. So. If you want to say hi to us or pick up things or info or any of the above, you can stop by whatever workshop room is listed. We will be in there all day is it Friday?
I think Friday sounds right. Yes.
Yeah, Friday is our workshop day. So we have several other events running around the con that are actual game events that our group is running. But on Friday, Laura and I will be in the workshop room pretty much all day. So you can stop by the workshop rooms listed in the program guide to catch us there.
Awesome. Very cool. Yes, Gen Con is my next con as well, so
we are also doing a couple of non-cosplay panels. We're doing Japanese folklore, and I've got a literary panel about the history of the Phantom Thief, and those will also be listed under our group name, but they are not in the workshop room. So if it's not Friday and you want to catch us, you can catch us at one of those panels.
And all of that can be found on the Gen Con website.
Yes.
Lovely.
The easy way to do it is if you go to the Gen Con events page, search by game company, and Sewing is Half the Battle is right up there in the A's.
Yes, the bulging catalog that is Gen Con.
The phone book.
Yes. It's a good thing we have the internet, because that thing would be huge if they had to print it.
They do, and it looks like the telephone directory.
Yeah.
They print it. It is a small phone book, and it does not contain everything because they can't print it all. So absolutely, just head to the website, look for the A's. Much simpler.
All right. So thank you guys for coming in and chatting with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So hopefully our listeners have learned a thing or two, and hopefully maybe bolstered a little bit more confidence for those that are on the fence about starting cosplaying. Do it! Like Brittany said, do it!
Do it! And come show us your costumes. If you're at a con where we are, we love seeing costumes. That's why we do what we do. So come say hi and show us your costume.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, we will put links to your guys' Facebook and Cupcake's Facebook as well, and your guys' website and all that fun stuff in the show notes, so people can find you. Obviously, our show notes will be on our blog, the 5ish Fangirls Podcast.blogspot.com. So from there, you can find links to all of our stuff, all of your guys' stuff, and because we're all over the social medias just like you are. It's like, ooh, new social media outlet? Yes, please. Even if we don't post on it that often, we're going to sign up for it and secure that username. So yeah, links to everything will be there. And I posted the video of Cupcake. It's already on our Facebook page, so make sure to go watch that if you haven't already, because it is Cupcake is amazing, and watching Cupcake chase Claire along the con floor is hilarious.
Watch that video and know that inside Laura is about to pass out.
Yeah. Very much so. So with that, I guess we shall sign off for this week. Laura and Alena, if you want to go ahead and say bye first, go right on ahead.
It's been nice talking with everybody. All of you. We will talk to you later.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And whoever's left with us.
Do we have anyone?
There's just Brittany and Velda saying goodnight. I forgot to turn off my mute.
Just calling from a spam once again saying good evening. I'm going to saying goodnight from Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Bye, everyone. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.